Welcome back. Well, it's that time of the year, Dave, where we have the holidays and there's a lot of safety tips that we'd like to share with you out there. So joining us on the program this week, we have Captain Russ Davies with the Anne Arundel County Fire Department. Captain Davies, thank you for joining us this week.
Thank you for having me.
We would love to pick your brain right now about a lot of different things, but we have to start off with the biggest story that we've had locally, and that's, of course, the fire that was at the Annapolis Yacht Club. Can you explain to us about the county's presence with that as far as what your involvement's been?
Sure. We have a very robust mutual aid system established with the City of Annapolis Fire Department. So on that day, we responded with apparatus and personnel to assist them with that multiple alarm fire.
Very good. And as of right now, we're still not sure at this point while we're recording about what might have caused the fire. But, there's a lot of things out there that we should be highlighting for our viewers as far as safety tips when it comes to having these holiday environments. And we would love to go through some of those with you. And obviously, let's start off with Christmas trees.
Sure. We've had a very tragic experience this year with Christmas trees in Anne Arundel County. So we're trying to do some outreach just to really educate people about ways to make it safer. We certainly don't want to discourage people from having live Christmas trees. So one of the things that we found from the testing after the Child's Point fire when NIST did the testing was just what a difference it made to have constant watering of that Christmas tree. We've always advocated, water your Christmas tree, but we saw what a difference it made when you constantly water the tree every day, make sure it always has water. When NIST did the testing, the two trees that were watered sporadically reached their maximum temperature in about 5 seconds and 30 seconds respectively. The tree that had been watered every day constantly took about 7 minutes to get to its peak temperature, and then it almost extinguished itself. So really what we want to emphasize is water your tree every day, and a general rule of thumb is if you look at the stem of the tree, the trunk, for every inch diameter of that trunk, that tree is going to need about a quart of water per day. So not only do you need to be giving the tree that much water, but you really need to have it in a stand that's capable of holding that much water. So if you've got a tree that's got a 3-inch diameter stump, you need to have it in a stand that's going to hold 3 quarts of water or maybe even a gallon of water, and you need to fill it every day.
That's a really good rule.
So you talked about the Christmas tree, and just to back up for a moment for those who don't recall, less than a year ago, we had this very tragic event just outside of Annapolis where the grandparents had the grandchildren at the house, and unfortunately multiple members of that family died of smoke inhalation from a Christmas tree catching on fire. And it just reminds you how important this is and how serious this is. I mean, people see these videos, with the don't deep fry your turkey too close to the house, and these seemingly improbable scenarios where a house goes up in flames. But this is a very serious possibility, and it's a simple thing to make sure that the tree is hydrated, I guess is the word, or that you're watering the tree regularly.
Right. Yeah. Christmas tree fires in this country aren't very common. There's about 230 a year.
Wow. That's very small.
But the thing is, when they occur, they are very, very dangerous. More likely to cause a loss of life compared to any other fire. So they don't happen frequently, thank goodness. But when they do, they're serious, which is why we're trying to get this message out.
And it's so quick.
Yeah, it's very fast, especially especially if they're dry.
They're normally located in like a living room, and when you have things like furniture, sofa, soft cushions, drapes, it's just incredible how fast everything catches on fire. Mm-hmm. But it's not just Christmas trees. I mean, this is a time of year where people are pulling out a lot of candles, doing a lot of cooking, and things get unattended because there's so much going on at your house.
It's very chaotic in a lot of times.
Right, there's children running around.
Don't forget the Christmas story scenario where dad's got 15 lights all plugged into one outlet, and it blows the breaker, but that's something you don't want to do, right? There's some other kind of safety.
The rule used to be you don't plug more than 3 light strands into a series, but the lights have changed, so you really need to follow the manufacturer's directions for the lights. And just normal safety ideas. When you place your tree, not within 3 feet of a heat source, something that's going to dry it out, something that's that could ignite it. And you don't think how you're going to leave your house in an emergency. Don't block the exit with the tree. So just some general guidelines. And there's some tips that we give that are timeless. Working smoke alarm on every level, working smoke alarm in every sleeping area. And something that a lot of people don't consider, we always stress that you have an exit plan to leave your house in the event of emergency. Well, when you bring the Christmas tree and you move some furniture around, you make some alterations in the house. So take that into consideration. Is it going to change how you're going to leave your house in an emergency? And the other consideration is, are you going to have house guests? Or are you going to be a guest in someone's house? Do your guests know the best way out of your house, and do you know how to get out of somebody else's house?
That's a really good point. And something else that I've seen, actually, a lot of the fire stations have either electronic boards or still the old-fashioned boards outside, always have great messages up. And I've seen a lot recently that have some out about chimney cleaning, making sure that your chimneys are clear.
Yeah,
For Santa?
Well, yes, for Santa Day.
We see a lot of chimney fires in this county. So we always recommend you have your chimney cleaned and inspected to make sure that the liner's intact, to make sure you don't have too much of a creosote burn up. Because one of the problems with chimney fires is a lot of times if you're inside the house, it goes unnoticed until somebody bangs on your door and says, "Hey, it looks like your chimney's on fire." So have your chimney cleaned every year. Have your heat system serviced every year, because we always have the concern about the carbon monoxide. So it's holiday tips, and it's just the cold weather safety type tips.
And you also mentioned off camera that just because you have an artificial tree and not a live tree, that doesn't mean that you couldn't potentially have a fire hazard there.
That's right, exactly. A lot of people think that an artificial tree is absolutely safe. It's important to make sure that it's certified by Underwriters Laboratory or similar. And then you still have to be careful about what you put on it. If you mix lights and a lot of combustibles, an artificial tree can be just as dangerous as a live tree.
And for dumb people like me, combustible means
paper, cloth, anything that readily will catch
Don't
fire.
have it near the curtains.
Right, exactly.
This time of year, I'm sure you get a bunch of more common calls about these avoidable circumstances where you could have avoided these actions or results. So what are some other tips that you can give us based on calls that you receive this time of year that you want to just give as a tip for folks out there?
Well, it's the calls that we get here are very seasonal. So this is the time of year where we start to see a lot of the cold weather related. We just had a call Friday night in Millersville where firefighters made a rescue in a residence. A fire was started by a space heater that was too close to combustibles. So it ignited the combustibles. The house didn't have working smoke alarms, and then the residents attempted to extinguish the fire themselves, so there was a delay in calling 911. So this is the time of the year. The main thing would be service whatever your heat source is in the house, and if you're using a space heater or a heater like that, keeping the 3-foot minimum distance from combustibles.
Very good. So besides obviously folks out there being more mindful about these heat sources and being near combustible items, what else is on your Christmas list this year?
What do you want for Christmas?
This year has been a tragic year in the county with the 12 fire deaths. I'd like to be invited back next year and talk about not having any fire deaths in Anne Arundel County in 2016.
That's a fair request.
A very good request.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, Captain Davies, thank you so much for joining us on the program this week. Wish you a happy holiday and a safe holiday, especially to all of you out there. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back with more Week in Review right after this.